Yes, you are.
I welcome all of you here on this beautiful platform and the first panel discussion of the 3-day fantastic show of the growth stories for the startups by Vyapaar Jagat. And the previous session has set a beautiful background about the startup stories, about the India as an ecosystem. Here I begin with a little introduction about all the speakers here. We have Vedant, we have Subramanian, we have Mr. Manish Johri, we have Samyak, and we have Manoj sir. All the speakers are brilliant stalwarts. And I'm glad that we are as a panel have a very varied age group. The youngest being Vedant, who is in his teens right now. Right. So I welcome all of you. A little about Vedant. He is a 11th grade student, Vedant, am I right?
Yes, right? I'm in the 11th grade.
Yes, he is in 11th grade and Arduino expert, a subject which is close to my heart because I've seen my daughters learning that. And he's been a TEDx speaker. It's brilliant to have Vedant here on the platform. I mean, I'm actually out of words to speak about Vedant when I saw his LinkedIn profile. He is into 3D printing. He's into human element for these startups. He's been a TEDx speaker. When do you study, Vedant? I have a question which I'll ask you offline. When do you study for your school? And he has a YouTube channel. I see Sundar Pichai in making, when I see.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Subramanian sir, my God, happiness, BNI, founder of CEO Mitra. Mitra literally means friend. I can see a friend when I read about him, and the profile is so brilliant. I don't know how many years of experience, and the years in the experience is just a number, but the experience he brings is like, 10x. If he says 10 years of experience, just multiply that by the 10, the kind of profile he has. He is an ecosystem, built an ecosystem on HR marketing and CFO and fundraising services for SMEs, startups and small family owned MNCs from Europe and Asia. And he's प्यार से लोग इनको सुबु बुलाते हैं, इतना लंबा नाम नहीं बोलते हैं. And being holding over 650 business owners through BNI and a happiness coach from Fish. Oh my God! I think this is going to be brilliant discussion.
I'm humbled.
Samyak, another energetic son in this panel today. I'm actually using the word son, SUN, because he brings a huge light through MyWays. He is a founder and CEO of the AI-empowered JobTech Platform, MyWays. He's IIT. You're an IIT from. And I'm glad, IITians are here in India and not doing, he's left his personal interest of probably going abroad and settling, but be here in India for India and support India. So this is brilliant, which I look forward Samyak from you. His profile is, my God, he's like, I don't know how many awards he has won. He also runs a Blood Foundation, Blood Connect Foundation, which he's inspiring young generation and sharing the importance of blood donation, apart from being the techie guy or the founder and doing MyWays.ai. Manish sir, what do I tell you about Manish sir? Manish sir is being so humble. Wherever I have approached him, he has agreed to be with me. He is helping investors. He's helping other business owners to be investors and fund startups. He is an ACE expert. He really actually know how to mentor startups in handling the funds. He's that is a very big thing which startups need, how to handle their funds and how to pitch for the funds, and how he guides other investors or venture capitalists to look at the startup and to park their funds into them. So he is a SVP at Angel Investors, and he comes with over 2 decades of experience in the startup ecosystem as an investor, as a strategic advisor and a mentor. And yes, he's a very, very regular speaker at the industry events. And every Saturday, he brings his group of investors together to listen to a startup. So that's been a brilliant contribution he's doing. I feel which will actually one day turn around the GDP of our country on a larger picture. Manoj sir, apparently, to be honest, I'm meeting him here in the screen for the first time. We are just few kilometers away from in Delhi, but I have never met him physically, but I know him because of the work he has done in incubating an organization which I had witnessed. There's an organization called HUTK. When I look at the word is a hatke, matlab hatke वैसे भी in the Indian language, and the English is that the kind of work he has done in incubating that startup is amazing. Right. So, and he's retired. He's, I think, in the senior most in our panel in terms of the age factor. But he's equally energetic as you, Vedant. I would say that he's been mentoring. He runs a management consulting brand after he has retired. And they provide services are provided by qualified professionals who carry number of years of work experience across the industries at senior positions. So he actually knows the game of the incubation for a startup, right? So now, after this introduction, do have a screen sharing rights?
Thank you so much.
Most welcome, sir. Most welcome. Here I'm going to share my screen and show you something. Let me know if the screen is visible.
It is visible, Apeksha.
Yeah. So I'm going to set up a little background for today's panel discussion. We are here with different walks of life, with different experience, with a lot of confidence, and to analyze a issue which is like, why do startups fail? Right? If this panel brings in awareness around this, we are sure to turn around the startups to convert into, like what the previous panel had said, startup to scale up to scale out. That should be the path of a startup. So here we are to bring this light on so that this will set the background for the rest of the discussions which are going to happen in these 3 days. Because this is something very, very important to know where the problem is lying. That's why we are here together as a panel today. So if we understand what is a startup, right? Let me correct me if I've missed out a point. A startup is a young, established sorry, I have missed the presentation. Sorry of the little mess up. Okay, so startup is a young company established by one or more entrepreneurs to create a unique and irreplaceable product or service. It aims at bringing innovation and building ideas quickly. Do the panelists agree on this?
Can I add a thing or two to this?
Yes, sir, we will come to you for this. So, and every startup, I believe, starts like a caterpillar with a vision of to become a butterfly. Yes? Do we all agree on this?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what it meant, no? The startup to scale up to scale out, A little bit about myself. I am the founder director at mechatronics Design and Attributes Private Limited. It's an award-winning company recognized by MSME for the best sustainable design for corporate interiors for the office spaces. I'm the author of my upcoming book, Getting Them Started. In a couple of months, this would be available for you to read. And I've been invited as a speaker at various events with the experience that I come around. My vision is to see India grow. Simple as that. I'm an Indian, true Indian, and my vision is to see India grow. And that's why I agreed to Dr. Praveen that yes, I'll moderate this panel. And for that vision to join me, I am in deep gratitude to all of you for joining on this panel. And on a busy Friday morning, we are here to address this panel. Modi at the Paris Climate Summit, he said that Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, which means happiness for all. I am sure Subbu sir, you would relate with this very strongly, right? And the promise he made was that India was not making those promises to the world about one, but it was about the 125 crore Indians were making those promises to themselves. That's why we, in our back of our mind, do certain work in certain way. That's why there is a platform called Vyapaar Jagat. That's why what Manish sir is doing as SVP, that is what Manoj sir is doing even after retiring. That is what Vedant has as a vision. That is what Samyak is doing through through his AI-empowered company. But now, thing is, the good news is that on the startup platform, India is entered to become the next Silicon Valley. India's startups are blazing a trail. India is the third largest startup ecosystem of the world, right? Triggered due to AI, IT, robotics, and of course, through the lot of internet things. Startups have penetrated in various fields like health, legal, FMCG, retail, insurance, health, and even manufacturing industry. All of us have witnessed this kind of startups, come across, interacted with them, help them, work with them, or are working with them, or look forward to work with them, right? But the bad news is that in India, 77 startups fail in just 3 years. Isn't this shocking? Isn't this shocking? Now, in last 3 years, up to July 2022, if I say, India witnessed 77,000 startups, out of which 2 years were in lockdown, right? And most of these startups are here in in their phase of 1, 2, or 3 years, right? So this is what is giving me jitters or giving me goosebumps. I said, what are we doing with our where we are connected with the startups? Do we know what stage are they in? So when I look at this, would you all agree as this is a basic recipe of a startup? The business idea, the founders, the funds, the infrastructure, the market, right?
Yeah, broadly speaking, yes.
Broadly speaking, yes. But still startups fail. They start with this kind of a setup, but still they fail. Right?
Right.
So here, my question is that this is a process of a startup, like when they, start with a business idea and they slowly grow. So my question to you, to this panelist, is around, the first question that I would bring here is, in terms of the fundraising stage or at the incubation stage, Manish sir and Manoj sir, you come with this experience. Please enlighten us. Why do startups fail at this stage? Over to you.
Manojji, why don't you give it the flavor?
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for inviting me in this panel this morning. It's really wonderful to interact with so many of you with such a vast experience in the field of the topic that we are discussing. Now, coming to why startups fail. So as Apesha ji has just shared, 77% startups fail. It's rather unfortunate, but frankly speaking, I am not surprised at that number. In fact, she said 77% startups fail within 3 years. As many as 90% startups fail in about 5 years. Out of the 10% that survive, just about 4 to 5% manage to make some money. So now that is the grim reality that's facing us. Why does this happen? And the reasons could be many. And I will just briefly talk about these. The most important reason why startups fail is because there is a mismatch between our expectation from the business that we want to do and the reality of the market. That is the single most factor which causes the failure of startups. Now, startup is any new business that starts. Now, what happens is that as you start any new business, you should be clear about what you want to do in that business. Unfortunately, what's happening is we are following a reverse order. We first say we want to do some business because we feel that that is where the fun lies. That's where the thrill lies. We see a few unicorns. We get motivated by that. And we feel that, yes, this is a very good career option for us. So let's start our own business, be our own bosses. But we do not have much clarity about what business do we want to do, what products and services we want to do. And in a rush, after we have set up a business, after we have called a few of our friends, 3-4 of us get together, we decide to do a business, then we start scratching our heads to think of what business we should do. That, to my mind, is a recipe for disaster. Because first and foremost, you must have an idea on which you want to build your edifice, on which you want to do your business. And that idea, I mean, that I might be stating the very obvious when I say that that idea is about a product or a service which your customer wants, which the customer actually wants, not something which you would like your customer to want. Yeah? So there should be a need for a product or a service in the market, and that need is not getting fulfilled currently through any other means. And therefore, you feel that, yes, that's a product and service that should be introduced. But that alone is not enough. While that could be a good start point, again, the point is, what is the timing of that product or service in the market? That's also very important. Any product or service must be introduced in the market at the right time, neither before its time nor after its time, because it will otherwise not have a desired impact. We can take a look at number of successful companies which introduced some disruptive ideas in the market, became successful. For example, I'm just randomly naming a few, Paytm, Google, Facebook. Now, all these companies, if they had come out with these ideas sooner or later, they may not really have worked so well. Now, here, there is this concept of 3 C's that I would like to bring in. And the 3 C's that I'm talking about is the company, the customer, and the competition. Customer, we have already covered. We must come out with a product or a service that our customer wants, for which there is a need in the market. Not just that, the market size should be large enough for the business to become scalable over a period of time. And while there could be other competitors also who are working in that field, there should be enough business potential for every player in the market. So you should be able to create a niche for yourself. And there again, you have to see what your competition is doing. Can you do that differently? So that is where the concept of competition comes. And the third one is company. And when I say company, I mean you yourself. Do you have the competence? Do you have the capability to do business in that line that you are thinking about? Unless you have done your validation, first and foremost, an idea, generation of an idea, and the validation of your idea, applying these 3 principles of C. Now, unless you have done that, you can never really be very sure about whether your idea is going to be received well in the market or not. So that's very, very important. And there again, now that could be a wrong idea, could therefore be the single most important reason why startups are failing. But that alone is not the end of the story. There could be many other factors apart from that. You may have chosen a good idea. You may have introduced it in the market at the right time. You may be having the capabilities, the competence to do it. But again, there could be many other factors that may go wrong. So apart from quality of business, the quality of timing, your quality of team, because team means people who are working in that business. The quality of team might not really be up to the mark. The quality of management, because if you have to run your company, you must have the management skills in you. You must have the strategic insight in you. So that may be lacking. Also, the quality of finance. So there again, I mean, these could be number of factors for which a startup might fail. So
here when Manoj sir, you mentioned the quality of finance, I would like Manish sir to put a light on this particular point, because he has been SVP at the Angel Investors. They have been inspiring and putting money in a lot of startups. So Manish sir, can you bring the enlightenment around this, about the financial part, about the funds, and how these startups fail in managing these funds, which results into a failure or the close down of the startup?
So there is another statement for a successful startup. Okay. So a successful startup is one that moves from plan A to a plan that works before your resources run out. So that's what the startup story is. It rarely ever makes profits. I mean, get profits. To start with, there are hardly any revenues also. The only resources that they have is whether it is the funding from the friends and family, or it is funding from angels, or so they have to move with a bone from the lots of so friends and family to angels to institutional money like VCs and all. So when you are moving to such people, okay, what is the key thing that we look at when whether we will fund a guy or not? So one of the main thing is, how is growth really happening for your services and across your customer base? And that hypergrowth only happens when you have an innovative solution, when you have a differential product offering, when you are not a Me Too guy, and when you are able to create a wow factor across all your stakeholders. Okay, so if that is to happen, then largely there are first focus, which is important. I typically ask a 6-question set to a founder. The first question is, can you visualize a typical day in the life of your customer? Do you understand your customer? Do you understand what is the pain point that he's having? Okay. What is the second, what is the pain point that you're having? So till such time as you don't have that understanding, most of the startups fail because they are out in the market because they have created a solution and they want to take it out to the market and they feel that the customers will be really happy using their solution. That is the biggest folly, why people do not get funding or why people have problem in managing the fund. Because what happens is they use their funds to create a very huge sales team and they invest a lot of money in sales and marketing for their services or their product. So that essentially is the problem, that they are in love with the solution they have created rather than in love with the problem that the customer said they have. That essentially is the key learning I have had over the past 2.5 decades. Okay, so the message for the founders is be in love with the problem that your customers are having, not with the solution that you create, because that
Brilliant.
From what it is today to a plan that works, right? Plan A to a plan that works. Paytm is not doing what it started doing more than a decade back, right? Is not doing what it started out as. Same thing is with Google. Same thing is with, say, Tesla. You name it. Any company, for any company. And yes, one more thing is founders should refrain from using, I have the first mover advantage. What we want to see is, would you have the last advantage? That requires for you to understand your customer segment very well. I think I will.
This is brilliant. I think, Manish sir, what you just said is true, just not for the startup, but for any business, even if it is a decade old or a 2-decade old. I mean, exactly. And I would relate that. If I give an example of the large company, is Reliance doing what it started with? Is it still just selling polyester? I think it has walked into every possible infrastructure that our country needs. Same as with Tata, same as with Adani's. I mean, this big stalwarts. Why are they stalwarts? Is this? I think this is the biggest ingredient of their recipe. That how they have moved with the demand, with the the problem the customer faces, and then brought the solution in the market. Now, there is another question, but very important factor which both Manoj sir and Manish sir said, which I could read it in between the lines, is about the happiness quotient. The happiness of being a founder, the happiness of reaching out to the problem to the customer, the happiness of the right team behind the, a founder himself alone can't run a business like this. He needs a team. Subramanian sir, I would like to address this question to you. When you come with such a huge experience and when you hold, 650 people of the network in BNI, some people, get inducted, some people leave the organization, and being adding to the happiness quotient, I would like to address this question to you. Where do you think this ingredient is missing in a startup, and how it can be addressed to, to scale it up to a good business?
Hey, thank you, Apeksha. So first of all, thank you for having me here, you and Praveen, and also all the other panelists. You guys are awesome. So, guys, how many of you agree that, we are all managing people right from the morning we get up till the time that we sleep? Okay. Somewhere we are managing people, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And how many times that we see happiness in the people in front? Happiness means they smile, right? And how many times do we attempt to see happiness in their faces? It's a big question, okay? But we are running, and we don't stop actually to see, are they happy? Am I spreading happiness? Okay. So when it comes to a startup entrepreneur, it becomes all the more important that he's a good people manager. I'll tell you what, if you look at the stakeholders, okay, whether it is the investors, they are the stakeholders, okay, whether it is the customers, they are also people behind, okay, the people behind all the businesses that you do with customers. You take the suppliers with you, there are people behind suppliers, right? And of course, if you take your own self, you need to learn to manage yourself. Okay. Most of the time, what I have noticed is that there are. I mean, I have really sat across meetings where the startup guy is so egoistic, and he feels what he's doing is right, and he pushes everybody to listen to him, and you can see sullen faces in the entire team around him. Okay, or you can actually see that he is not trusting his people. I mean, there are small things that he does through the day, that he signs vouchers. He wants to know what's happening every day to day, every minute. There are controls established. I also have noticed, when startups start, the first thing they do is buy a CCTV camera and post it in their, my recommendation to people is, if you want to be part of a success story, the first thing is you be a good people manager. And to be a good people manager, you must start by trusting. Okay. I mean, imagine everybody in your organization, even the lowest guy, even if you take a peon who is working in the admin department or whatever, he is intelligent to know that his child has to become a doctor. Okay, he manages his finances within that 15,000 or 10,000, whatever he gets. Now, when these are people who are so intelligent, why do we have to tell them what to do? Instead, can we give them a vision? Okay, can we give them that transparency in your financial statements? In my company, I post my financials every month with the team, and we discuss it, because everyone in the room actually knows what is their impact on the financial and the growth of the company. Okay, that is trusting. I mean, some people fear that, oh, if you see a lot of money on the balance sheet, they're going to ask for it. They put a formula there. You just put a formula for sharing. You want happiness, right? How does happiness come? When the stomach is full. Okay, everybody, your team, your stomach is full. How does investors get happy? Be transparent with them. Don't hide anything. Whether you have a problem or you have a success, it's great to share with them. I mean, this is the way it has got to be. Okay, so for me, I mean, I would love that our viewers can go and see this video on fish philosophy. Okay, this is a place in Seattle where there is a fish store which is stinky, and there are a lot of fish stores, but this one store sells like hell, and that's because the employees are just so happy, and they are allowed to innovate. They throw fish around, they sing around. They have music going on, and they are allowed to do whatever they want to do. So for me, the people element, I mean, the success of any startup, I think, is about managing resources, right? And one of the biggest resource, and the resource that is connected to all the other resources, are people. So
People.
I always, yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't know whether I answered your question to make sure, but you can take it ahead now.
No, sir, I totally agree with that. Like when I had the interaction in the morning with Vedant, and when I saw what Samyak is doing, though with both of you have got huge, the techie background, but I see that it's you guys are like touching the human element, human element where happiness is a very, very big thing, happiness in what you are doing, happiness in, and that brings happiness to the founder, happiness of receiving the fund, happiness of incubating, happiness of having a fantastic team, having a great market to put the product, right? With technology, right, still is not overpowering the happiness. Technology is, I see, is just as another tool to to bring this. So both of you, to Vedant and Samyak, when you bring human element and technology together, why do you see startups missing this balance of happiness and human element together. I would like you to, throw light on this so that we end up having more happy startups, successful startups. Over to you, Samyak and Vedant.
So to answer your question, about the human element in startups and how we ignore it, I think what all the other speakers have highlighted out here, that we have to focus on a very focused problem. You don't want to have a solution that's looking for a problem. You want to be solving someone's problem. So I'd like to give an example from a very recent startup I was working at called Neuralex. So it was a bunch of passionate engineering minds. We've got mentors from ISRO, the best we could possibly have. What were we working on? There was this, really new and upcoming technology called brain-machine interface. Abhi, what is brain-machine interface? Okay, so let me explain this technology through an example. Let's say I've got my arm amputated after my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
But even after I've got my arm amputated, I've got the nerve endings on my elbow, right? The nerve endings, the nerves which run from the brain through the spinal cord. I've got the nerve endings on my elbow. Now, as an amputated man, I can think, okay, I want to lift up my hand. But it's a different thing. I don't have my hand to lift up. But I can still think I want to lift up my hand. So the signal, the nerve impulse transfers from the brain to the end of the elbow, and the nerve carries a small electric impulse. Now, what were we solving? We got into the space, really strong, pretty lost in technology, I must say. We were picking up those nerve impulses and transferring them to a PCB, and via a bit of, instrumentation, amplifiers and everything, we were getting to a point where we could pick up that and have an artificial prosthetic arm lift your arm. So it pretty much was like a real arm. If an amputated man thinks, okay, I want to lift up my arm, the prosthetic arm will move. But okay, now what were we exactly providing inside this entire thing? We weren't providing the arm, but similar to what Intel does, we were providing the technology behind the arm. Like Intel provides the CPUs, which are in all of our laptops right now, but they do not make the laptops, right? Dell, Lenovo, such brands make the laptops. So we were also just providing the computing technology. But now coming to the classic, startup failure story, as everyone highlighted, what problem were we solving? At the end, this wasn't something we could sell in a B2C environment. Over that, for selling it to, brands which were making prosthetics, they didn't really need it. We couldn't even go upstream and scale the startup. So then it came to a point, okay, we've got amazing technology in-house. We've got everything right. I think it's a really innovative idea. But the most basic question, what problem are we solving? So, this was again a very classic solution looking for a problem. We had nothing to do. So that's one. And then coming to other really important factor, the human element. Okay. So how many of y'all have, witnessed this, smart little round type of a vacuum cleaner called Roomba? It's really popular in the Western countries.
Yes.
It goes around cleaning your entire house autonomously. For all the viewers who don't know what this thing is, it is an automatic vacuum cleaner the size of, let's say, a plate, a khane ki thali. It's a vacuum cleaner of that size, which goes around the entire house autonomously, sweeps it, and keeps it ready for you when you come home, let's say after work or college. And it's priced around 60 to 70,000 in the US, and it's a really, really popular thing out there. So, the classic Indian startup mentality, chalo, it's worked in the US, let's bring it to India, it has to work. We did that. So we worked day and night, put in lots of effort, and managed to get that same contraption at an astounding price of rupees 15 to 20,000. And we were delighted. We thought, okay, this is going to be a huge success. We're going to break the market here because it's the first time we're able to bring it to the customer at such a good price. And what is it? The customer, our local household maid, or buys, they only take a salary of 10 to 15,000 a month. So if this is working, why will the customer, choose anything else over us? But later did we realize we were so lost into the technology, we missed out on the human element. Another part I like to call human engineering. We didn't end up going with the house owner or housewives and taking interviews of what they really needed. So when we went to display our product, before it was in the prototype stage, they were all really delighted, all complaining. My bike comes late, she takes off, she can't do this, she can't do that. The product would be amazing at that price. But once we made the product a prototype and said, okay, you like the product, so now, I am interested in buying it. Other issues came about. Now, what could they be? Okay, but now my bai has a family to feed. She also, can go and get the groceries for me. There was a certain emotional connect, which we really missed out on. So all the amazing technology behind our product got lost. Now, how could this failure have been avoided? Before starting the prototyping and all the tech phase, we should have had a small human engineering phase of a startup where we went had open-ended discussions about the product to understand the psychology behind how the house cleaning happens. We should have really got into the minds of Indian housewives. And other really classic failure, not of mine but of another company, which forgot the human element. Tide detergent. So at a certain time, I think it was around 2006 or 7 when I was born, these guys wanted to launch an international ad campaign for Tide. They were going international and becoming really big in the space. And they launched one very the typical one. Okay, we have a ganda kapda here. We put it into a clean water. We put our detergent, and a saaf kapda comes out on the other hand. So in the newspapers where you used to see those 5 posters of the cloth going from dirty to clean. So they put these out in billboards. But one really astounding issue they face is in the Arab countries, the UAE. They reach from the right to the left.
Yeah.
So guess what happened next? What the ad was showing instead of, it was really hilarious. It was what they write as, okay, you're putting a clean cloth in, you put Tide detergent and a gadda kapda comes out. Another fail just due to the lack of human element, because they designed the ad with, let's say, world-class ad designers and, psychology experts and everything sitting in labs in the country instead of going out and reviewing it by the people, by the target audience. So that's another really bad failure.
This is very interesting, and thank you bringing that little fun element here. Samyak, what do you have to say about this? Vedant has brought a lot of real life close examples which we would have witnessed in our everyday life. What are your inputs about this recipe not being so tasty and the startups fail?
I was about to actually discuss about the washing machine, dishwasher example, right? The perfect example for that matter, right? And there are a lot of such examples. So if you look at the fundamental of this, right, it dates back to when I learned it, right? I'm looking at Vedant and I'm like, wow, what was I doing in 11? But it is about when I was in IIT and I was like, I have to start something of my own. I think it was in 3rd year or so. And I actually just got into the office of one of the professors. This was not an engineering professor. By my interest, I'm too much into psychology, and I went into an office of a psychology professor in IIT, right? So he is in the social science department. And he said, for the first time, an engineer is coming into my office to take some advice. He told me something which I think, as an entrepreneur, all of us should remember, and especially engineers who turn entrepreneurs. Right? We say that the gravitational force is equal to mg, right? Mass into gravitational force, which is g. The value of that g is very different in US, and it's different in India. When science, it's very different, how can you expect the same to be in social science specifically, right? For me, coming from the one of the most difficult space to crack in terms of social aspect, right? Be it careers, be it jobs, be it whether someone is going to join, someone is not going to join, and bringing this AI into this entire hiring process, including the psychometrics. I feel there's virtually nothing that AI or nothing that technology cannot do, right? Technology can even now have emotions, right? The researches are going on, and they can the robots can even have emotions. So what's something that technology cannot do in a long run, right? Except apart from this startup spaces, I think that element of spirituality, right? That a longer vision is something that technology cannot have by its own. From that aspect, if I look at this part in the startup world, right, I think it's very, very important to know that as I think almost everyone has mentioned, is good product does not mean good business, right? There are good examples of good product. As an entrepreneur, I have had done pilots of really good products. I was very excited, and when it goes into the market really behaves odd. So what we need to understand is, again, the same thing. I think all of us are repeating the same thing with respect to this. As a human, we have to understand the need of the other person, right? That EQ has to be very, very high. That empathy quotient, that emotional quotient has to be very high. We need to understand the need of the customer. We have to understand the customer and then bring technology. So as a rule, in MyWays at least, and also when we look for, like, when we help our clients hire, we ensure that the person is not in love with technology, especially when they're hiring a techie in startup. You should know tech, but you should not be in love with technology. You should not be a scientist, you should be an engineer. Right? So that's basically the difference that I see when building products. So and when I say you should be an engineer, it means customer first technology approach and not technology first approach. So I think that is what we follow to ensure that human element is always there.
So adding on to this, I'm going a little out of the agenda. I wanted to like when I share, I'm going to again share the screen and show you something. What I hear from Manish sir, Manoj sir, Subbu sir, Samyak and Vedant you, and what Neeraj had said in the previous discussion when the Vyapaar Jagat growth show opened today, he used the term called business sustainability. You know, here what I look at various aspects of business sustainability. It is about the product, it is about the customer, it is about the founder himself, it is about the funds which walk in, it is about the infrastructure that you build or you create or to run this business. It is about the sustainability of the market also, you know. And it's for example, if I give an example, Starbucks is just not selling coffee. But when we think of Starbucks, what comes in the picture is coffee. But Starbucks sells other. There are savories also. There are tea also. There are coffees of various type also. You know, it's just not a warm cappuccino brew comes in front. You know. So here I'm going to just going a little beyond and sharing something again from this is. This is what I as as a designer have coined for work, for when I do commercial interiors or something like that. This is what it comes, if you will look at this slide, it is talking where it boils down to work here. I mean is a successful business in a successful setup. And see how it brings, the apps, the vibes, the clusters, or the user experience, 4 of them coming together. And this vibes and cluster is talking, it comes from the workspace. The UX vibe is coming from the well-being, and the culture and the people and the digital place, So here I would, close and open this discussion. Thank you so much, first of all of you being here on the panel, highlighting different aspects of startups, and also giving nuggets of startups not failing. What are the key ingredients? It's like, I know the recipe of making tea. मुझे चाय पत्ती चाहिए, दूध चाहिए, पानी चाहिए, चीनी चाहिए, पर अगर मैं उसमें आग नहीं लगाऊंगी ना, so if I don't put that energy, that heat, it is not going to make a good cup of tea. So this is for the audience who is online and here also, and to all of us who are mentoring startups at different level, somebody into hiring, somebody into providing technology, somebody like me and Neeraj creating spaces around that. I wish we all take up this as a next level, right? And promise our Prime Minister in his vision in the growth story, and we turn around the GDP one fine day. Thank you so much. If I'm opening this panel, we still have, I guess, 2 minutes. If anybody wants to say something, Jalpan, if you want to add on to this. Jalpan, you're on a mute. We cannot hear you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Apeksha, and thank you all the guests here on the board who is discussing this very eminent and very vital point why startup fails actually. So there is a gesture of ignition. There is a gesture of passion within everybody to make their ideas come conceptual, and then they come on the field with it, and they try hard to kind of fight a battle within themselves, within the outer economy and outer corporate struggles, whatever they face. So this panel discussion has given a lot of knowledge how to come out of it, overcome those struggles, and how with the process as well. So that's important for our viewers also who is watching here. They might have learned the lesson why the startup fails, and they keep those lessons in their mind and move forward. So thank you so much, Apeksha, being such a wonderful moderator here on this show, and gratitudes to all the guests here. And then let me just start before we start to the next point, next topic about the entrepreneur mindset. I would like to make a thankful note to all our sponsors and partners.
Jalpan, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting in between, but I think Subbu has to say something. Subbuji, please go ahead.
Please.
Very short one. Apeksha, you brought the Starbucks example. You said there are a lot of products they have, but actually, if you see what they give is experience.
Absolutely.
And that is what they are selling.
Absolutely.
And if every entrepreneur can imagine that he gives an experience to his ecosystem around him, a fantastic experience. Products, everything don't matter in the end. And I think that's the key to success. That's my view. Thank you.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, sir.
Just one last one, Apeksha.
Yes, sir.
So prior to Agility Ventures, I was a lead angels, and so Professor Dhruv Nath, I think most of us were knowing him. Okay, so he and Sushanto, the founder of Lead Angels, had coined a word called persistent. So for a success mantra, every entrepreneur has to be very persistent. Okay, what does persistent stand for? P for problem, E for earnings model, R for risk, S for scalability, I for innovation, S for size of the market, T for traction, E for entry barriers, N for niche, and last T, of course, is the most important, create a fantastic team.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And so at Agility Ventures also, if you have an 8+, then you don't win. If you are anything less than 7, there are chances pretty less. Anything less than 5, then you will have to pivot a lot to go beyond that 8.
So this gives me another idea that every startup, if they are providing a product and service, and they are expecting a certain kind of profit, the human element, Vedant, Samyak, all of you, what you guys have highlighted is what Manoj sir also said about in his initial when he pitched about it. Please be prepared for the loss also, which might come on the way. Right? And not to get scared, persistent, the first letter which said about, and not to get scared by that loss. Because that loss is due to some kind of missing element. It is not a mistake, it's some kind of a missing element, but that can be also a turnaround to take over the market in a brilliant way.
I'll just add one more line. So one more line I'll add. A lot of people today in the media, XYZ is spending 600 to earn 1 rupee, forget profit and things like that. So startup is all about that, I want to create a service which customers will use. Then they will start paying some money for that. And that customer base will grow. My unit economics are fine. So my revenue will start turning profitable after reaching a certain scale. That's all what startup is all. So if anyone asks me, a lot of people ask me, so a lot of investors also ask, sir, ye profitable kab hoga? मैंने कहा बस 3-4 साल लगते हैं कोई भी स्टार्टअप को अपना बेस क्रिएट करने के अंदर. Let's not hurry with the profitability. Otherwise, what you'll end up with is a business. It's a good business, but it won't be something that you can take to an IPO or someone may want to acquire. Okay, so if you want to create a huge impact, then you have to be, as you rightly said, learn to live with the losses, so that you can get your profit.
Awesome. Over to you, Dr. Praveen.
But ma'am, to add on to what Manish sir just said, as I spoke about the brain-machine interface example about the amputated arm, it's really important to have let it be 4 to 5 years, but it's very important to have a concrete profitability plan in place, because if that's missing, many times we get so lost in the technology behind innovation, we miss out on the profitability part and do not have a really concrete way to make money. And at the end, what is startups? It runs on profit.
Vedant, I wish you would have attended the first introductory panel, which happened today morning at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. There was something discussed very deeply, was about the valuation. The creation of the value. I believe my experience, I also was a startup, when I started my office or my company, we were also a startup. What work was not, the target was not ki kitna profit chahiye. The target was that I want to finish this project successfully so that I am referable.
Exactly.
So that I am referable. Again, what was that? It was just a pure human element. It was pure happiness quotient, which was to be created in completion of a project. And I'm sure Manoj sir must be agreeing to that, where he has worked so closely with Hatke in creating such a fantastic product. And I'm totally sure, Manoj sir, a minute for you, and then Dr. Praveen, please take over. We are already.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And my only advice will be to startups to enter the market with realistic expectations. They should be completely clued on to what the market wants, which way the market is going, and they should have the agility to keep shifting gears as they move on. And finally, one piece of advice is, you are doing business to earn money. So while it might take you X number of years to turn around and become profitable, but profitable you must become. If you're not becoming profitable, then you really have to look at where you're going wrong and do a course correction sooner than later. Thank you.
Apeksha, what a powerful panel discussion this is.
It was brilliant. I'm telling you, the morning platform that you set up was so amazing that I'm glad I attended. I could pick up nuggets from the speakers over there and put here, like what Neeraj had said. And I think somebody mentioned about the valuation, and that the crux was of that. And I'm sorry to say, but this panel has got lesser time. We are such powerful people here with so much of energy and willingness to, to contribute to the growth of a startup. So that is a brilliant thing. And I wish all the best to all the panelists to be in their journey in that mojo and collaborate, associate, talk, discuss, meet, and let's make our country proud.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was indeed a very powerful talk, and I'm enjoying this kind of session. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing all your insights and experience, and a lot of things to learn from all of you. Truly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we continue this journey.
Yeah.
Thank you.